You're watching the reDefine show on Adorama TV, and I'm your host, Tamara Lackey. On this Part 2 episode, we conclude our eye-opening talk with award-winning director, Pulitzer-prize-winning photographer, and popular educator Vincent Laforet about how he pulled far and away from the pack.
Adorama TV presents the reDefine show with Tamara Lackey, where she talks with creatives who make it all work, bringing their best creative and business tips to you, along with fresh ideas and equipment favorites.
reDefine show is sponsored by Adorama, the place to go for all your creative equipment needs. What about gear? So what is your kind of go-to gear? What are your favorite pieces that you would say, you know, these are worth it?
Well, it all depends. I think it's a very hard, I'd rather answer it this way, that these days, it seems like a new camera comes out every 3 weeks. It used to be every 6 months. Before that, it was every year or two. Before that, it was every 5 years. So it's getting exponentially difficult to pick the best camera.
Right.
And what you have to decide for yourself is, what do you need, what budget do you have, and what are the absolutely important features. And the main ones are the resolution of the camera, whether it's 720, 1080, 4K, 5K. And that's determined by, are you ever going to go on the silver screen, or are you always going to end up on YouTube? Right. So if you're ending up on YouTube, you really don't need a 5K camera. Whereas if you have aspirations of showing your film at Sundance or on the big screen, you might think about 2K, or you might even think about 4K if you're doing special effects or stuff where you might need to reposition the image, or you just want the best quality image, long term. Then there's the codec. What does this camera record to? Is it a raw image or is it not? That's one of the big things right now. And if it's a raw image, it's a lot more work, it's a lot more data, it's usually a much more expensive camera, and a big headache for post for some. And if you want to do commercials, that are 30 seconds or 60 seconds, or films that have big budgets, it's not a problem. But if you're trying to turn something around at a wedding, don't do raw. Yeah. And then there's the camera speeds in terms of frames per second. If you're just shooting narrative or interviews, 24 frames a second is perfect. If you're doing sports or anything that's a little bit more dreamy or artistic, highest frame rates are your friend.
So you can overbuy if
absolutely.
Unnecessarily, and cause more headache in terms of storage and post-processing. And so don't do that. Right.
And the problem is most people don't really know what they need because it's so complicated.
Right.
But if you break it down to at least those 3 things, you're going to be ahead of a lot more people. And the last thing is, what's the camera you're buying? Can you use it out of the box, or do you need to buy, $5,000 or $10,000 of accessories to make it work? That's the big question. So there are cameras out there today that are, come out of the box that you can just go ahead and shoot, like, Canon C300. You just pick it up and shoot. You have to buy a single thing to make it work. Of course, you will accessorize it to make it work on a cinema set. You can accessorize every camera. There are other cameras that you buy, like maybe the average HDSLR, which isn't quite ready. Ergonomically, it just doesn't. You don't shoot like this.
Right.
You shoot on your shoulder, or you
or the round.
Yeah, I don't like the fig rig. I don't like that round.
What's it called?
The fig rig.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Fig rig.
It drives me a little crazy, but maybe I need to give it a second chance.
Do not get the fig rig.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
A lot of people love it, and that's the thing. It's different.
It's how it feels to you.
Yeah, I have the luxury of working with Steadicam operators, which is not a luxury everyone has. So that's why I don't like the fig rig. What
is the most incredibly shallow depth of field you've pulled off with moving objects?
Don't.
Don't.
That's the answer. Don't do that. It's a thing. It happened.
It's a thing. It's happened. Let's not look at it anymore.
It's a style no one wants to see anymore. Especially in narrative filmmaking, you really want to be between 2.8 and 5.6, and sometimes f2. You really want to go to f8 or f11 unless you have like 3 actors in a frame. And people need to stop doing that. It looks funky.
I remember the first time I really noticed it. Yeah. Because it became very, I think it was like a show of Alias or something.
Yeah, it was the it thing.
I was like, whoa, that's nutty.
Yeah. So
it's not your preferred style?
Well, if the actor is constantly moving in and out of focus, no.
Right.
If it's a stationary object, that you can keep in focus, it's beautiful.
Yeah. What is your favorite film right now?
It'd be between Blade Runner, Citizen Kane, Brazil, Tree of Life in a weird way.
I've heard cinematography-wise, stunning.
Oh God, yeah. And even directing, some of the scenes between the married couple, Brad Pitt and his wife and the kids are so powerful. There's a lot of stuff that drives me crazy when they cut to the dinosaurs and stuff like that. I just lose it. But listen, Terrence Malick is kind of a savant, and he's a philosophy major, teacher, I believe as well, professor, definitely a philosophy nut, and to him it's really about talking about the human experience. It's not about creating a popcorn film. That's really something to be respected. And then, you know, all over the gamut from Cinema Paradiso to Full Metal Jacket.
That's quite a range.
I like a lot of different films. I like, you know, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, a lot of a wide variety.
Why is it always Citizen Kane?
Because it was the really first, to me, true cinematic masterpiece. You have, you know, historical films like the Lumiere brothers did, you know, one of the first film where they shot a locomotive going into this train station. People literally ran out of the theater, and you have Battleship Potemkin, you have Gone with the Wind, and they're all masterpieces in their own right. But Citizen Kane was done by one of the biggest geniuses in film, Orson Welles, and he was so young when he did that, and he directed it, and he acted as the main character, and it was a powerful story, but more importantly, or as importantly, the way it was shot was so far ahead of its day. I mean, the crane moves that he did, and the way he used the camera and scale was just masterful. Like, there was not a single shot that was done just, you know, frame it up and shoot. The relationship of every character in terms of size to the other was important, and the movement of the camera was important.
I'm gonna go watch it now.
Yeah, you should.
Because I keep hearing that.
You should.
And I don't, you know, that's interesting. And you deliver that assessment with such passion.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Tell me where people can find out more about you.
Sure. The main place is to go to my blog, blog.vincentlaforet.com. I've got a huge gear section there where I describe every single lens, tripod, slider, filter, software, audio device that I use or don't use, and why.
Oh, nice.
And an educational section as well. It's very popular. It gets close to 5 million visits a year.
Oh, Jeebus.
Yeah, and then there's always, you know, I have a book that came out a little while ago called Visual Stories that's more photography related and talks about the psychology and the ideas behind a lot of the photographs that I took. And for someone who wants to maybe learn a little bit what the thought process is behind a photojournalist or sports photographer,
absolutely,
or photography in general, it's a good read.
And what about social media?
I'm on Twitter, at Vincent Laforet.
On the Twitter.
Yeah.
Is it just Twitter? Vincent Laforet, just at Vincent Laforet.
At Vincent Laforet. I have a Facebook account. It's terribly ignored and uncared for. I check into it about once every month or 6 months.
So don't even bother.
Please don't.
Just okay. And Google Plus or Instagram or anything? Do you Instagram?
I never did Instagram.
Oh.
I did Google Plus. I lost interest after a week. And, you know, there's just too much at some point. And blog, Twitter, enough.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much for watching. You can check out much more content with photographers, filmmakers, and entrepreneurs by watching Adorama TV.
I was the director, so I went up to him and said, "Dude, what's going on?" He was a Russian guy. He's like, "I have a big problem that would negatively impact production." And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "I have the farts. They are most ungodly today. Not only will it destroy audio, it will make entire crew evacuate room. So I decided to evacuate the place." And that was my I can say that on camera.
That's fantastic.
Oh, we're speeding.
And you do a very good accent.
He spoke just like that. I'll never forget it.
For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 8 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.